Hey everybody, I'm Christopher. I prefer he, him pronouns. I identify as transmasculine, straight, and queer. I am 32 years young. Um, I started my transition at the age of 24, officially in 2012. And this is my transition story. For me, I personally didn't think that I would have one. And if I did have one, I thought that it wouldn't happen until my parents were no longer living. Um, for me, I tried for a very long time to be the perfect child, the perfect daughter that my parents wanted. And it got to where I couldn't hold up that facade anymore. Especially at 18 and an attempted suicide attempt. Um, it just got where I started rebelling against who my parents wanted me to be. Um, it also helped that I met someone in 2010, and our relationship, her love for me, also pushed me to finally have the courage to start my transition. Um, that, along with being able to move 10 hours away from my family, that very much helped start the way. So I didn't start my transition until I lived in Amarillo, Texas. I was born in um, Indianapolis, Indiana. My dad was military, so we moved around a lot. So I was always the new kid. I was very shy. Never really wanted to draw any attention to myself. Never really heard of the word trans or anyone like me until I was in high school. So anyway, I found myself in Amarillo, Texas, and I was working in a group home at the time. Didn't have insurance, didn't think that I would be able to start my transition. My dysphoria and my mental health had gotten really bad at this point, and I was very suicidal. Self-harming was very, very, very high. Um, so it just got to the point where I was desperate. At this same time, I met someone who was using hormones, and they really didn't have anywhere to live, so they ended up living with me and my girlfriend at the time and another roommate. Um, they offered to share their testosterone with me at $20 per shot, which at the time, being desperate, I didn't really think it through. I'm just like immediately said, yeah, sure, let's do this. Let's finally start this journey to be myself. What ended up happening? Well, this person ended up being very toxic. I ended up having to ask them to move out and had to stop testosterone cold turkey. For anyone who's ever had to go off and on testosterone, it's really, really hard on the body. There's just it's not a fun time. So it got to the point where I had to make the decision to finally search out resources to do this. I had the support of my partner, her pushing me 110%. But in the midst of all of this going on, I also got into a car wreck at work. And so I had PTSD going on. And I also, we don't talk a lot about this, but I also was dealing with depression heavily. I was dealing with alcoholism. I was dealing with a lot of things mixed with, being off hormones. So I ended up finally finding a therapist. Well, in Amarillo, Texas in 2011, 2012, there wasn't a lot of resources. There was like a whole one therapist and a whole one doctor who treated trans patients. And, me being me, anyone that knows me, I am overly honest. Sometimes I'm too honest to the point that I suffer. So I told this therapist that I had started hormones illegally and didn't really know the dosage. Had known I was on them for 3 to 4 months, but didn't really know anything. So she informed me that I would have to have all these sessions, expensive sessions, have to have an IQ test, personality test, all these things basically to tell me what was wrong with me, but it was okay, that I could transition. I basically had to prove to this stranger something that I knew my whole life since I was 4. But anyway, so I did that. She told me that a doctor wouldn't touch me for 6 months to a year. It was about 6, 7 months that I got my letter, basically stating that I had gender identity disorder, and her basically giving the okay that I could start testosterone. I finally saw an endocrinologist, and this was, I want to say, in May. Yeah, it was May and of 2012, and I was really, really, really excited. But this doctor really didn't know what he was doing. He actually put me on too high of a dose, to the point that I was basically having roid rage. I got really painful cystic acne all over my face. Like, it was not a good time. And so I ended up moving to Kansas City to live with another trans friend of mine, because I really didn't have a whole lot of family support. Me and the current partner had broken up for a little bit. So this was a very dark time for me. But I ended up in Kansas City, Kansas, switched doctors again. This doctor still didn't really know what he was doing and put me on too low of a dose, so I still was having issues. I ended up finally getting figured out. By this time, I was 6 months on testosterone. I had finally decided that it was time to tell my parents. This was like yesterday. I actually wrote them up an email coming out, telling them that I was trans, that I had started my hormone transition, that there was really nothing that they could do to change that, that this was my decision, and they could either respect that or they could not be in my life. I gave them resources on who they could look into. Thankfully, there's a lot more resources now. Back then, I remember giving them Ryan Salins. Was one of the resources I gave them. So thank you, Ryan Salins. I doubt my parents watched the videos, but thank you for the resource. But I ended up having to tell them because they were wanting me to come for the holidays, and it was getting to the point where every time I was talking to my mother, she was praying for my sore throat because of my voice change, and it just got where I'm just like, I can't really do this anymore. Just came out to them. Family is supportive as long as I'm quiet about who I am, I've noticed, which unfortunately that's a lot of families. But anyway, I found myself, while I was in Kansas, I found myself in college. It was bittersweet, even though I was in a new town where nobody knew me. I still wasn't, quote unquote, passing enough yet, so I was pretty consistently misgendered. I worked a couple jobs, well, one in particular, where, when I applied, I told them, I'm Christopher, I'm trans, I'll disclose that, but I want to be known as the man. I don't want to be known as the trans man, because I didn't want to, I know what it's like to tell people that you're trans and have them only focus on your genitals, and so I just wanted to be Christopher, you know what I mean? So, but anyway, had a supervisor who outed me, so I dealt with that. I've had classmates who have outed me. Just different things like that have happened. But in 2014, in May, I had my hysterectomy. that was more emotional than what I thought it was going to be, because I had to come to the acceptance that I would never have a child that would be biologically mine. And I know that, blood doesn't make a child, make someone your child, but like it would be cool to be able to look at a child and see parts of myself, especially mixed with my wife. I was not able to freeze my eggs, money, and I got cysts pretty quickly after I started hormones. So I had to have a hysterectomy. It was, I just had to have that done. I didn't have an option. So I had that done. And then in June, I was able to have my top surgery. Thank God for my grandma. She knew that I was getting really, 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 really suicidal during all this. I had saved up previous from student loans to get surgery a year before, and stuff happened and it didn't happen. So she stepped up, and when my parents didn't help me, she helped me. Long story short, when your doctor tells you to sit still and relax, listen. I struggle to do that. My pain tolerance, I can handle quite a bit of things. I've been through quite a bit of things, so whenever my body's in pain, I don't always listen the best. I've gotten better since hurting myself. I don't have any option but to listen. But 2 weeks after I got my top surgery, I was sweeping, and had a hematoma burst on the left side. Okay, and this was on a Saturday. One of the most painful things of my life. Could feel every heartbeat. Thank God for my surgeon in Kansas City, Missouri. Shout out to Carol Ann Elward. She didn't even know that I'm doing this. But like, I called her, and my wife had to drive an hour. We went 80 miles per hour. We really wanted a cop to pull us over so they could give us an escort to the hospital, but we didn't. Got to the hospital. She met me at the hospital door and held my hand all the way to surgery. So yeah, that was a very, very frightening time. Along with that milestone, I was able to get my name changed. Really, really cool feeling, finally being able to sign Christopher Lawrence Moyer. It's kind of mixed emotions about my name. Not my first name, but the other. I picked Christopher because it means to bear love, so that is one of my goals in life. I need to do better at bearing love to myself. I'm better at others. To myself, I struggle. It's a struggle. But after I got my name changed, I sent my paperwork to get my gender marker changed. Okay, so never had a gender marker on my birth certificate. Born in Indiana. Never had one. Didn't have no gender marker on it at all. Okay, nothing. So when I sent my paperwork, my letter stating that I was male and my name changed, I thought, okay, it'll change, easy. No. New birth certificate had a female on it. Okay, this whole time didn't have anything, didn't have nothing. So if any other people who were born in Indiana, let me know. Especially, I was born in '88, so let me know. Does your birth certificate have a gender marker? That's a side note, but I'm just very curious. I was informed that I guess now they will change it, but I was able to get my gender marker on my driver's license, male, so I wasn't too worried about it at the very moment. I'm a procrastinator. Okay. So that's 2014. Okay, still got a little bit of time to get you through my transition story. Once everything was changed, I hate the word stealth, but I tried to do the stealth thing. I was able to find a transport group that was awesome. I got connected with really awesome friends. So I really only was myself with them, which was, like I said, bittersweet because so many of us feel like we can't be ourselves. It's not safe to be ourselves fully in all our um, environments. But found friends and everything like that. That was working for me. Then I started to feel a very strong pull to come back to Illinois. My grandma also started getting sick in 2015, so we ended up moving back to Illinois. And then October 2016, we ended up moving back to my hometown of Decatur, Illinois. Once I moved back here, I knew it was only a matter of time before being stealth would be an option. I married my wife June 13th, 2016. We've been together for 10 years this year. Thank God for her. But so ended up coming here, ended up hurting myself in 2018. Main reason I bring that up is because it wasn't until then that I really felt a even stronger push on me to be open about who I was. I also started to serve at a church with youth, and that really started to pull on me even more. I wasn't out other than social media, and I ended up coming to find out that a lot of these people were following me anyway. So I basically was out before I was outed by one of the youth leaders from my past. But my transition has been beautiful, even though it's been a lot of pain. So like, me and my wife ended up where we had to step down from youth leadership, and it was really, really hard. And I so much didn't take it hard for myself as I took it for, there was a lot of kids in the youth group who I know saw themselves in me because they were also queer. And so it was really, really, really hard, but it also pushed me to be a louder advocate. Being a louder advocate is what caused me to get asked to step down anyway, because like I said, most people, not most, okay, there's a lot of people who seem to only be supportive as long as we stay in our place or we're quiet. And that wasn't an option anymore. So as I've stepped into a more open light, it's been amazing. I still have a lot of work to do because, like I said, self-love is something I struggle with. You know, when you decide to be yourself and to start that journey, you are going to lose people. I lost a lot of people, but I can stand here and say that, you know, the people that I lost, they didn't truly see me. And for all of the ones that I lost, I gained chosen family who not only see me, but hold space for me and push me to be courageous. One of the biggest things that I've learned during my transition isn't a quick fix. It's a lifelong journey. Right now, I'm trying to focus being the best version of myself. And I'm going to end this with a quote that's very important to me. Richard Rohr says, transformation is often more about unlearning than learning. So I hope with this project we are able to unlearn all the lies we've been told. That there is no one way to be trans, that we are all beautiful, that all our stories matter, and we're better together. So thank you.